Hi guys! Welcome back to another episode of the Storytime Society. I'm your host Jamie and I'm so happy you're here. I'm so glad you're alive. Thanks for tuning in. If you haven't already, please press the subscribe button. The theme of today's episode is weird family dynamics, creepy family dynamics, okay? So let's get into it. The title of the first story is Am I the asshole for yelling at my aunt after she kept pressuring me to marry her son? I'm 24 female from Pakistan. Here, cousin marriages are common, and my aunt keeps pressuring me to marry her son, 25 male, since I was a teen. This started in my teen years. My aunt would start making jokes such as, "You'd make such a good daughter in law," or "You and her son's name would make a good couple," etc. I used to brush it off back then, ignore it, and such, hoping it would stop, but it never did. Instead, it started being more common. She started doing it every time we met, and I've shut her down politely every time, saying I'm not interested and it won't ever happen. My mom knew how much it bothered me. She didn't want to disrespect her elders, so she kept quiet and only spoke about it in private when my aunt messaged her. My mom told me to keep quiet and ignore because she won't let it happen. This was very uncomfortable. This whole thing gave my cousin some wrong ideas because he started messaging me in private saying things like, "We're getting married in the future, so why aren't you talking to me now?" I'd just ghost him and ignore his messages. Just a few years ago, I lost my temper at a family gathering after my aunt said, "You're all grown up now. When are you going to marry him? Our decision is final." The strong feeling of ick and cringe just made me lash out. I yelled at my aunt, calling her stupid for not listening to me and not understanding what no means. I used mild swear words as well, and it was a whole heated argument. To end the argument, my brother had to physically carry me out of the house, where I had a breakdown, and we all just left her house. My mom was hurt by this a lot, and I could feel the pain in her voice whenever we spoke about this. She said she just wishes I handled it differently. After this came a series of unwanted toxicity and drama. My aunt yelled at my mom, making her look like a terrible person for letting that happen, and cut off all ties. She influenced my mom's oldest sister and brother to do the same. My cousin got married to someone else, and we found out about it through someone else. He got married and divorced just later that year, and somehow my aunt managed to partially blame me and my mom for that divorce, even though we played no part in it. My mom deals with her siblings often, and sometimes they drag her into dramas. I've seen her cry in her room alone because of this, and it makes me feel bad. I feel like I should have done better or done things differently for the sake of my mom. All this toxicity and drama would have been avoided if I did things different. No, who should have avoided doing and done things differently is your aunt. Or I say aunt, but I don't know. I always say like my aunt. For some reason, I'm saying aunt right now, which does not feel like normal to me. It feels very foreign for me to say that. So I'm going to say aunt. Now, yeah, your aunt is weird. I like forcing someone into a marriage is crazy, and to try to pressure you into a marriage is crazy. I mean, I guess I don't really know, like I'm not a part of that culture, so I'm not really sure what's normal in that culture and not. Just how about you listen to someone when they say no, that they don't want to do something, instead of forcing it and keep on saying it over and over again to the point where this girl has to explode on you and have a crash out. Okay, let's read some comments. Not the asshole at all. Your aunt has some weird delusion that after you say no 100 times, you are still going to marry him. You are your own person and deserve respect. No one should be telling anyone who to marry. Heck, you don't have to marry at all if you don't want to. OP said she is very delusional. And then someone said, is she delusional or was your mother unwilling to fully put a stop to it because she defers to her sister? If Aunt's view is what the elders say goes, and she shouted, "Our decision is final." Does she believe your mom was on board? Is that who is included in our? Because it sounds like mom was playing both sides here. OP said she's delusional. My mom politely tried to put a stop to it, but she never listened. The "our decision is final" means that my aunt and her entire family, as in her children and husband, have decided that they want me and only me as their daughter-in-law. That was their decision, and it was final from there, and so it was up to my family to accept the offer. To take a phrase from my mother, whenever my brother and I would want something ridiculous or improbable as kids, tell your aunt, a wise man once said, you can't always get what you want, and leave it at that. I mean, yeah, that's just weird. Like, don't try to force someone into something, but I know that it's so different in other cultures, and like obviously every culture is different. obviously, like, stuff that I say can't really apply to everything, but I always say, like, I just think that if you have toxic people in your life like this, and even if they're family members, it doesn't matter. Like, there's no excuse for acting like that. And no contact is the best thing for a situation like that, truly, because especially for someone like that that's not going to change and they're just going to keep exhibiting that type of behavior towards you, it's just not worth having someone like that in your life. And so, honestly, thank God she decided to cut you guys off, because that's like the biggest blessing, probably. Thank God you cut me off. Yeah, thank you for that, because I was wanting to cut you off too, girl. The decision is mutual. The title of the next story is My Stepmom Kissed My Boyfriend on the Mouth. My 22 female stepmom, 38 female, was drunk, but it's still crazy. My boyfriend is 26 male. We were celebrating my boyfriend's birthday. My stepmom loves to drink, and she's been drunk on many occasions. Usually, she just becomes a louder and chattier version of herself. She's gotten angry drunk a few times too. Maybe what kind of drunk she becomes depends on her mood. I've never gotten drunk and I don't drink alcohol, so maybe I'm ignorant on its effects, but I find it hard to believe alcohol can bring this out. Please correct me if I'm misinformed. My boyfriend was sitting on a chair, but like reverse, so he had his arms crossed, resting them on the backrest, and his head was on his arms. We were watching a game on TV. The birthday party had kind of winded down. Most of the guests were gone. I was cleaning up. My stepmom was lounging outside and smoking. I missed some of the approach, but my boyfriend said she just came up to him and she was slurring her words, and the TV was loud. So when she said something to him, he didn't catch it. So he gestured for her to come closer and say it in his ear. She leaned in and told him, "You're so handsome. Movie star eyes." He said he just smiled back up at her and kind of laughed it off. He could tell she was very drunk. The rest of it I saw for myself. He returned his attention back to the TV. She reached out and touched his chin to get him to look back at her, and then she leaned in, and my boyfriend told me, she said, "Happy birthday, darling," and kissed him on the cheek and then suddenly on the mouth. If that wasn't enough, she tried to kiss him again, on the mouth, but he pushed her face. She laughed, and I was so shocked I was frozen. I don't even remember what I said, but I know I said something. I remember my boyfriend's friend said, "Did she just kiss you?" And my stepmom just laughed it off and told us, "Don't make a big deal out of it. It was an accident." She won't so much as apologize, but when she got sober, she approached me privately to tell me not to tell my dad. Am I the asshole if I tell my dad, or is this really just not a big deal? I don't want to cause stress for my dad, but I think this is a little too big to file away as a drunk oopsie, her words, and just forget about it. I mean, considering that's assault, and also she is weird and cheated on your dad, and probably, I assume, if she's doing things and like going out and getting drunk at bars or something, or like going places and drinking, like, I assume that she's probably doing crazier things than this behind your guys' back, for sure, and that's very scary. Regardless, I would definitely tell your dad, like, no matter what, because what the hell. Update. Hi everyone, thank you for responding to my advice request on this sub. I got asked a lot, so I will say it here in case my comment didn't get noticed. My dad is 43 years old, so the age difference between him and my stepmom, 38, isn't super drastic. People were wondering where he was during this. He was at work. I waited until my dad was home alone. I told him what happened. We have a rocky relationship because he has poor emotional regulation. That's why my mom left him. It's getting better between us though, since both of us have been making conscious efforts to communicate calmly, so this conversation was one that I was dreading with my dad, but it went as well as it could have. My dad's first response was still to be irritable and defensive. He focused his anger unfairly on my boyfriend initially. I had to make it very clear that this happened unknowingly and spontaneously as far as my boyfriend is concerned, and that he was a victim in this. I also mentioned to my dad that my stepmom told me not to tell him. My dad was too angry for words and didn't say much to me. He left the house and came back later a bit more cooled off. He made me repeat the order of events again and exactly what was said. He then said the rest is between my stepmom and him, and he doesn't want me to get involved. He requested me to not have my boyfriend over for a while. I can go over to his place instead. That works out since my boyfriend doesn't feel comfortable around my stepmom anymore. You guys speculated my stepmom has a drinking problem. She definitely does. I think it's gotten worse in the last few months. I don't know why though. I have never had any issues with my stepmom, but we're not exactly close either. Nasty. She's weird. Also, it's really weird for your dad to be like, tell him not to come over anymore. As if How about tell the stepmom to not come over anymore and go straight to the courthouse and say, I'm getting a divorce, because she sounds like she is a danger. I mean, she's weird for that. Some of the comments: you did the right thing telling your dad. Your stepmom needs help with her drinking. However, that does not excuse what she did. Not the asshole. OP, you should tell her to know her place. That's way too risky. Good for you for telling your dad. I'm sure that was an uncomfortable conversation, but it needed to be had. Yes, your stepmother has a drinking problem. That's the root cause of the situation. I'd keep your boyfriend away to make sure this doesn't happen again. I don't think the boyfriend wants to be there. Like, I really don't. I think the boyfriend wants to be far, far away from that woman that just violated him. That's so scary. If I was over at my boyfriend's and his like stepdad kissed me, I would have kicked him in the shins and ran away. Like, I would have been so scared. I would have called 911 and like 5150'd him or something, because I feel like people don't make it as big of a deal when it happens to a boy, but flip the situation and people think that it's such a big deal. So why not both? You know what I mean? Like, it's both sides are messed up. If it's happening to a boy and if it's happening to a girl, like, that's weird. It's weird. It's assault. Period. It doesn't matter what the gender is. Like, that is also reminding me, if you guys have heard of the Christina Formella stuff with like her student and stuff. Oh my God. If you see a video about that on TikTok and you open the comments, 90% of them are weird men saying, where were the teachers like this when I was in school? Or like, who snitched? And stuff like that. I'm like, you're fucking weird, okay? Also, I put out a video. You guys know I do Get Ready With Me videos, and I read Reddit stories while I do the Get Ready With Me's. And I was doing the one where the husband slept with his wife's niece when she was out of town for a business trip. So many comments of men saying, let me see what the niece looks like. Weird. Especially because it's like kind of assumed that she's young, right? Which she was definitely, I think, 18, but still, that's weird, obviously. But I don't think I said the age. So I feel like you just automatically assume niece with being young and probably a minor. And they're all like, what does she look like? Like, let me see what she looks like. You guys are weird. There's too many pedos out here. Far too many. I'm scared. Oh, wait. You know what's so funny? Opie said, thank you guys for the push. I hope she gets the help she needs, but unfortunately, our relationship will never be the same because it's been a day and she still hasn't apologized to me or my boyfriend yet. This girl replied and said, if gender roles were reversed, what she did would be considered sexual assault and not forgivable at all. Like, what if he had a stepfather that did that to you? I would imagine all hell would break loose and just an apology wouldn't suffice. And then someone said, no, you do not have to reverse the gender. Stepmom sexually assaulted him. Legally, ethically, morally, that is sexual assault. As is slapping ass, grabbing punani, grabbing testicles, or feeling up nipples and chests, or licking someone. And then that person said, glad you responded. OP needs to read it and comprehend how bad it was for her stepmother to do what she did to her boyfriend. I was trying the shoe on the other foot approach, but telling it how it really is better. Exactly. That's what I just said. I'm glad someone else had the same thoughts as me, because it's so true. Like, if that were the other way around, everyone would be freaking out. This story probably would have gone even crazier. But of course, because it's a guy, people are like, oh, that's my fantasy. Oh, that's my No, you're weird. Stop. Okay, the title of the next story. I've been married for a month and my husband is having an affair with my sister. I've been in shock since I found out. We have been married for a month. He's been having the affair with my sister since before we got engaged back in November. My sister is 8 months pregnant. Her husband was the one who discovered the affair and he is divorcing her. He had to get a test done on the advice of his aunt, who is a solicitor, to make sure their 1.5-year-old son was his child, but my sister doesn't know yet if her husband or my husband is the father of the baby. I'll be seeking a divorce even though my husband wants us to go to counseling and stay married. I'm an advocate, a barrister, so I won't have any trouble finding a solicitor at least. The law only takes adultery into consideration as to why the marriage broke down and not for how the assets are divided or settled. However, at least I will not have to pay him support since we were only married for a month before I moved out of our flat. I will never speak to my sister again, no matter how much she begs me to forgive her, and I'm not staying married to my husband, no matter how much he begs me to stay. I don't believe either of them when they say they're sorry, not one bit. I don't believe either of them either. Are you kidding me? Yeah, because I am pretty sure he fully married you knowingly having an affair with your sister. Wild. And now he's like, "No, we really need to work it out." Oh, really? I'm so annoyed. Why? You're so stupid. We're going to read the update. Update: I've been married for a month and my husband is having an affair with my sister. People who say you should get over it when someone cheats on you have no idea what it's like. 10 months later. Last June, I, female 37, found out my husband, male 39, was having an affair with my sister, female 27. I had been married for a month. Their affair began before I was engaged. My sister's husband, male 27, was the one who first found out. When it was discovered, my sister was about 8 months pregnant with a baby girl, and it turned out my ex-husband is the father. Apparently, he was furious when he found out because he didn't want children. My ex-husband and I met on an online dating group for people who don't want children, or to date people who have children from former relationships. My ex-husband and my sister both begged me to forgive them. My sister said she can't help it that she fell in love with him, and my ex-husband said he couldn't be blamed for what happened. I couldn't believe they thought that what they did could be forgiven and forgotten. My ex-husband didn't want a divorce, and neither did my sister from my former brother-in-law. I'm divorced now. I'm an advocate, so I was fortunate enough to know the best solicitors who could represent me in my divorce. Since I was only married for a month before I sought a divorce and moved out of our flat, I did not have to pay my ex-husband maintenance, and the divorce did not take long. It's a different story for my sister and my former brother-in-law. They were married for much longer. They own property, and they have a son together. He was 17 months old when the affair was discovered. My sister may end up having to pay spousal and child maintenance since she earns more. Their divorce is ongoing. I haven't spoken with my former brother-in-law since I first left my ex-husband, but I feel badly for him. He was devastated when he found out about the affair and the baby not being his child. He didn't deserve any of that. People who say you should get over it when someone cheats on you have no idea. I have never felt pain like this before. It wasn't even just emotional, it was physical as well. I'm still heartbroken over this. I had no idea anything could hurt so much. I'm going to start seeing a counselor, but it doesn't feel like enough. I haven't seen or spoken to my ex-husband since I moved out of our flat. The only contact during the divorce was through our solicitors. He's dead to me, and so is my sister. I haven't seen or spoken to my sister since shortly after I left my ex-husband, and I never want to see her again. She's dead to me. I don't think I'll ever heal from this. I'm fortunate my parents, my other sister, and most of my family support me and have disowned my traitor sister and no longer have contact with her. Anyone who tells me I should forgive her or chooses her over me gets removed from my life with no second chance. I don't want to hear anything about either one of them ever again. From what my ex-husband's solicitor said during my divorce, sister and ex-husband plan to marry after she is granted a divorce. I haven't heard anything about either one of them since then. I try not to think about either of them. They were two people I loved most in the world, and they did something that I'll never heal from. They're selfish, and they destroyed me. Anyone who says I should get over this or forgive and forget has no idea what it's like. They're getting married? If you want extra content weekly, head over to patreon.com/storytimesociety and become a member on there for extra content. Love you. What? Okay, have fun with that relationship. That is the craziest thing. Also, not him being mad, like, that's probably the consequences of your own actions, dude. Maybe you shouldn't have cheated, and then you wouldn't have a baby with this girl. Maybe you should have wore a condom or something. I don't know. Maybe you should have been more safe about it. You're so silly. That's so silly, Goose. I cannot believe that. They're getting married. That's literally crazy. Starting off a relationship like that is so wild. Like, oh, also, this is my sister's ex-husband. Yeah, and let me tell you how cute our story is and how we met, everyone. Do you guys want to know how like, when people ask you how you met? Because people ask me and my boyfriend how we met all the time. I can't even imagine. Like, oh, how'd you guys meet? Oh, well, actually, it's my sister's husband. So, and then we had an affair for a while. And then I got pregnant with his baby. And then I got divorced from my husband. And she got divorced from her husband. And now we're together. It's like such an amazing, beautiful love story. That's going to be like such a toxic relationship. I feel like the only reason they do that is so they feel like they get something out of it. They're like, well, might as well, because otherwise that was all for nothing. Yeah, they're probably both going to end up having an affair with other people. If they can do that, that's wild. Also, him wanting to work on it and her sister saying, I am in love with him, seems like they were on pretty different pages to me. But let's read some comments. Thank you for the update. You and your brother-in-law are both making the best decision possible. You're right. Your ex and your ex-sister are horrible, selfish people. They hurt so many people. Do whatever you can to protect your peace and mental health. I'm so sorry they did this to you. Honestly, I'd recommend blocking anyone who says you need to forgive them and move on. No, you don't. You may at some point in the future need to explore forgiveness from the point of view of easing the weight on your heart, but don't feel pressured to offer forgiveness to either of them. I wish you the best of luck in the future. You should never forgive them. That's the wildest thing ever. Yeah, of course, like forgiving them for yourself, but like never forgive them, like never make it known or let them know that they're forgiven, because they should never feel the weight off of their shoulders for doing that. That's awful. This person said, guarantee the only reason sister's marrying the ex at this point is because he's all she has. Since he's been disowned by the entire family, it's a marriage of convenience. Something tells me that's going to be one toxic relationship, as I'm sure there'll be resentment there from both of them, and they'll have no one to blame but themselves. All I can say for the ex who never wanted kids, karma. While I feel for the kid, I hope the kid doesn't grow up with parents that resent them. They don't deserve that. I can't imagine how good those parents are going to be. Jeesh. The sister already, and then the husband doesn't even want kids, but is having kids. Ugh, that's my biggest nightmare. Someone said, I wouldn't forgive them either, especially knowing they were sleeping together well before this marriage. He stood up there with her. Her sister was probably beside her in the wedding party, pregnant with his child. The depths of scumbaggery are low, and the heights of entitlement are high. But you can't help who you love, even if they're in a committed relationship, and other stock excuses from the cheater handbook. I do believe you can't control who you love or are attracted to. You can control what you do about it. Definitely. The best thing to do was divorce your spouse, then get together with the other person. Hell, the fact that they got together in secret before the engagement, shouldn't have even proposed to his divorced wife in the first place, and just broke up with her. I don't even know what they're saying, to be honest. Storytime Society is now available on all listening platforms. If you are on any of those listening platforms, I would really appreciate it if you rated me 5 stars. Thanks for all the support. Yes, I don't think people have nearly as much control of their emotions as they think they do, but they absolutely are in control of how and when they act on those emotions. And the only acceptable way to act on emotions like that is to bury it deep so you forget it's there. Yeah, you don't cheat, especially with your sister's husband. Like, that's just tomfoolery. That's wackadoodle behavior. Whack-a-doodle. That's what that is. And I'm concerned. I also feel like because I'm sure she has friends, right? This sister. If that was my friend, yikes. I don't think I could ever continue being friends with that person. Oh, because I'm not, like, I'm a loyal person, but I feel like if that's the kind of shit you're pulling on your sister, God only knows what you could do to me. So, like, I don't think I want to be friends with you. I think that I'm going to probably exit your life, because I'd be so concerned that you're going to try to fuck my husband, but obviously my husband wouldn't fuck you, like, thank God. But because it's too, both parties have to want that. So the sister could have initiated something, and then if the husband was a good guy, he would have turned her down. But they both decided, yeah, this is a great idea. This is such a great idea. That's what's crazy to me, is like, you fully both decided to partake in that affair. And that's the most insane part to me. And I know it's pretty common, like, it's really getting common to have affairs these days. But I don't get why you can't just not have an affair, and why you can't just leave your partner. You just want to, like, make sure, like, you just want to be like, well, what if this one doesn't work out? That's crazy. If you feel like you don't love your partner anymore and you want to engage in sexual activities and you fall in love with someone else, you should not be with your partner. You should leave them before it gets to the point of no return, and before you start having an affair with someone. that's just causing so much damage that doesn't need to happen. If you just say, be honest with yourself, which obviously this is going to happen forever and like people are always going to be having affairs and cheating and stuff, but it's just crazy that there's an easy solution to that. Or even to get, I don't want to like get too crazy, but you guys know, the Shanann and Chris, I forget what his name is, Chris something, and how he ended all of their lives because he was having an affair and stuff. That is crazy. Because why can't you just get a divorce? Why can't you just leave your husband or leave your wife? Yeah, it's going to be hard. It's going to be a hard situation to go through, but so is being in jail for the rest of your life. Or putting trauma on someone that you didn't need to put trauma on. Like giving someone trauma, not putting trauma on, but like giving someone trauma when you could have just broken up. Like what? What was your plan? What was the game plan here? You're just going to have an affair and then you're going to stop having an affair and like move on with your life? That's what I don't understand. It's like obviously those people aren't thinking, but the thing about me is I'm always thinking into the future. I'm always thinking 20 steps ahead. I just have anxiety, and that's anxiety at its finest. But I'm always thinking into the future. So no matter what decision I make, if I make a decision, you better know that I most likely thought through that decision, which probably makes bad decisions that I make even worse, because if you know that I think through the decision, then you know I made that decision fully informed on what would happen. That's why I wouldn't be having an affair. I would just be breaking up with my husband. And I know that's hard, obviously, like it's hard to get a divorce, but it's better than inflicting that kind of emotional trauma on someone. God forbid you don't be a selfish POS. But anyways, I hope none of you have had affairs, because I feel bad kind of now saying that. Obviously, like if you have an affair and you make a mistake, you're human, right? And I just hope that you can learn and grow from that. Who am I? I'm not the judger of all judges, and I have done bad things myself. I've done things that are wrong as well. So, yeah, I would just hope that if you have cheated, or if you have had affairs or had an affair. If you've had affairs, that's wild and you're kind of crazy for that. But I just hope that you've like learned from it and grown, homegrown. Yeah. I just hope that you would grow from it and like work on yourself after that, and like realize and come to the realization of why you did that, and then hopefully never hurt someone like that again, because that betrayal is just so devastating. But anyways, I hope that you guys enjoyed that episode. Let me know what you thought about those stories, and let me know if you got to the end of this episode. Let me know what you ate for breakfast today. Okay? Love you guys so much, and I'll talk to you in the next episode. Bye. My merch is out. Yeah, but this is it. And this comes in pink, black, and white. If you want to get a little cute piece of merch, go grab one. Link is in the description to purchase. Love you guys. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.